You are listening to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. I am your host, Cherie. Each one of these episodes will provide you an opportunity to recognize, develop, and achieve all God has for you, bringing you incredible guests, faith-filled messages that will motivate you to reboot, regroup, and reinvent yourself in faith, business, and lifestyle abundance. Now let's level up, ladies, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the show. We are talking about winning the battle of hardship and adversity. Who doesn't need to hear about this? Because I'm telling you, lately, the world seems to be going nuts. I mean, we're just launching from one crisis to another. We've experienced the global pandemic, dramatic changes to how we conduct our daily lives. People are working from home. We're conducting meetings on Zoom. I mean, who would have thought this, right? I mean, dramatic changes, really? Economic uncertainty. Look at gas prices, political and social turmoil, as well as just an array of natural disasters. What's going on around here, from hurricanes to fires? Look what's going on in Hawaii. I mean, there has been some personal traumas too. I mean, people are dealing with lots of loss, lots of loved ones, declining health, unemployment is on the rise, divorce, really violent crime, and tragic accidents. This is not just to talk about all the woe is me and horrible things in life. This is about winning the battle of it. How are we going to overcome it? Because for many of us, this is just a time of just pure struggle. So whether this is a source of disruption in your life, or it's just a global emergency, personal tragedy, or even all of the above, living through difficult times can take a heavy toll on our mood. It can take a toll on our health, our outlook, mindset. It can leave you feeling helpless and overwhelmed by stress and anxiety. So these are things we have to talk about. You may be painfully grieving all that you've lost right now. You may be flooded with things that are going on in your life, just a slew of difficulty, conflicting emotions, and just uncertain about how to move forward in your life. People are trying new things. They're trying new businesses. We're trying to earn money online. I know I've been talking about digital marketing and how to make money online, and I found it to be very successful. So I like to share those things with you guys. So if you're having financial difficulties, go back to Real Girl Talk Podcast on my Instagram, and you'll see me talking about digital marketing and how to truly make money online. Because if you're feeling out of control right now and powerless financially, emotionally, there's something that needs to happen, right? We have to win this battle. And a lot of us are thinking, gosh, what's going to happen next? Well, we have elections coming next. That's what's going to happen next. So what are you turning to right now? Or how are those things turning into you? How is it changing your mood, your health, your outlook, your mindset? Because it's easy to start with negative thoughts every day and seem like we're just stewing in those things. Maybe it seems like things are not getting better. They're just getting worse. Someone told me the other day, if you don't unload on someone, then you're going to go crazy. But listen, I get it. I mean, we feel a lot of times we need to unload, but at what expense are you unloading on somebody else? Who are you bringing down to make yourself feel better? We can't be this garbage truck just driving around every day looking to empty our load on someone else. That's why I tell you to keep your lid on your trash can so someone else doesn't dump on you. So have you just tried sitting quietly? Maybe just sitting quietly in your car, maybe parked in a parking lot, and just unload on Jesus? Have you tried writing it out in a journal? We need to look at alternatives to spewing misery out on others. That's not what it's like to win the battle of hardship and adversity, spewing out on others. That's not what we are supposed to be doing. I know there's no way to avoid sorrow a lot of times. There's no way to avoid adversity or distress in our life. There are ways to help smooth the rough waters and regain a sense of control, though. Resilience is the ability to cope with loss, change, and trauma that has basically inevitably been a part of everyone's life in some extraordinary challenge. Building resilience can help you better adapt to life-changing events. I've talked about resilience before on social media. Coping with turbulent times. That should be a title of a book, Coping with Turbulent Times, and bouncing back from hardship and tragedy. I mean, it's something that we have to learn. We have to learn the resilience, and that's how we're going to really tackle the hardships and adversity that come before us every single day. And sometimes some of us will say, gosh, if it's not one thing or another. I think things happen in threes. I think if you can get through three hardships in a row, it's smooth sailing for a while. How come some people are coping with things better than others? While everyone's situation may be different, it's true that people with resilience tend to have a higher tolerance for emotional stress and hard times. So the more resilient you are, the better you're able to tolerate feelings of anxiety, feelings of stress, sadness, that are all part of that accompanying trauma and adversity that happens in our life. They find a way to really rebound back from those setbacks. So who are these people? We all go through bad times. We all experience disappointment, loss, change. We all feel sad. We all feel anxious. We all feel stressed at various times in our life. That's just normal life. But building a resilience can help you maintain a positive outlook. And then you can face adversity and uncertainty with less fear, and you can get through even the darkest of days, because you guys know my story. You know the dark days that I've had. So if you're more sensitive to emotional distress and you're really finding it difficult to cope with hardship and adversity, it's important not to just think of it as some kind of character flaw in yourself, because that's not true. Resilience isn't a macho quality. It's not a instant fix. It's an ongoing process that requires an effort to build and maintain over time. So unless you've faced adversity in your life before, it's really unlikely that you've had a need or an opportunity to even develop the character of resilience. Drawing on your past experience can help you cope with challenges you're facing every single day. So even if you've struggled to cope with adversity in the past, you may at least be able to recognize some of the ways that you were coping that didn't help, right? Such as numbing your feelings to maybe drugs and alcohol. That's not a good way to cope. Matthew 6:34 says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." Philippians 4:6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your request to God." So it's really difficult sometimes to imagine anything good coming out of a traumatic experience, but building resilience can help you find a positive outlook in the most difficult times that you're facing. Surviving hardships can teach you important things about yourself and the world around you. So you need to be able to strengthen and resolve and really kind of deepen that empathy that you have for others, and realize that you're not on your own. Everyone's going through hard times. Look at how someone else is coping with their adversity and their hardships. Maybe talk to them about, hey, listen, how did you really develop that character of resilience? Because I seem to crumble under stress. Building resilience is going to really, really help you in order to stay focused, be flexible, and productive as well, right? In both the good times and the hard times. It's going to help you feel less afraid of new experience that you may be going through, and also uncertain futures, because a lot of us are looking at the future with uncertainty. It's going to help you manage and tolerate strong emotions outside your comfort zone, even those you'd rather avoid, like anger and a lot of times despair that we all have. But resilience can also strengthen your relationships and improve your communication skills at home, with your friend group, with your colleagues. It's going to help bolster up your self-esteem, which a lot of us need these days. So I want you to be confident, because in resilience, you can build a confidence and eventually find a solution to problems that you weren't able to do before, even when one isn't really immediately apparent to you. Does that make sense? You can develop and improve these qualities of resilience anytime, regardless of your age, your background, or your circumstances. I'm breaking this up into 2 episodes because I have 5 tips And I'm only going to talk about two of those today because these tips are really lengthy. And so if you're driving in your car, you may want to go back so you can write some of these tips down. And while I'm talking, if you think of someone jumps in your head that says, man, they really need to hear this. They're going through a lot of hard times. They struggle with resilience. They struggle with being able to cope through adversity and stress. Make sure you share this episode because truly sharing is caring, right? So let's jump into the first tip. The first tip is really practicing acceptance. So what does that mean? While we all react to those stressful events in different ways, many of us try to protect ourselves by refusing to accept the truth of what's actually happening. By denying that you're even experiencing any type of crisis, no matter what it is, you're really just kidding yourself. And so this makes you really lack a sense of reality and self-awareness of what's going on. While denial can have some positive functions, it can give you an opportunity to come to terms with the shock of the traumatic event. But over time, for example, it's just going to prolong your pain. Staying in denial will prevent you from adapting to the new circumstances and stop you from seeking solutions to take action and really prolong the healing process of whatever tragedy you're going through. The Bible is filled with life advices, little tidbits of truth to help guide you through times of stress, struggle, pain, and uncertainty. You don't have to look very far into the scripture to find Bible verses about strength and control. These verses will help guide you through tough times. When stress and anxiety hit you, I want you to open up the Bible. I want you to quickly find guidance and solace, because that's going to help you get through difficult times. Denial is not going to help you. It's just going to prolong the inevitable and prolong the pain. And I'm going to give you one verse right here, Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. Wow. I mean, that's a verse to really turn to if you're going through any type of struggles. In the midst of all of our stress and anxiety, it's super, super essential to remember that God is with you and He will not forsake you. This is just one of the comforting Bible verses that drives this point home. I want you to accept the situation because you have to accept it. Change is an inevitable part of life and many aspects of the changing world that are outside of our control. When my son died, I wanted to control that. How am I going to control that? There's no way. Of course, I went through all of the grieving processes. And what's the first one? The first stage of grieving? Denial. And all it does is prolong that pain. You can't control the spread of a virus, right? This is an example. You can't control the spread of a virus no more than I can control the death of my son. The pace of social change or how the economy behaves, these are things that are out of your control. It's tough to acknowledge, right? Because all of these things are rallying against us, we feel like. Circumstances that are out of our control, they're going to drain you of your energy and leave you feeling anxious and hopeless. The point of accepting in a situation, on the other hand, can free you up to devote your energy to things that you do have control over. All things work together for our good. John 14:27, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. Bible verses are about strength in hard times. They remind us that the world cannot give us the peace that only God can provide. Instead of being fearful, believers should turn to the Almighty for help. That's it. Turn to God for help. Focus on things within your control. I want you to make a list of things that you can't control and give yourself permission to stop worrying about them. Instead, focus on action that you can take, things that you can control. If you're unemployed, you can't control whether the ideal job appears in the want ads or on LinkedIn, or whether your employer is going to grant you an interview. You can't control that, but you can control how much time and effort you put into searching for work. brushing up on your skills, fixing your resume, up level that resume just a little bit. But if a loved one is facing a life threatening illness, you may have to relinquish that control to the medical experts. But you can still focus on providing that loved one with as much emotional support as possible. Prayer is the first line of defense, and then give it to God. So that's just an example. What you can control, what you can't control, and how to take action to both things. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Accept change by looking to your past, because looking back is not always good, but in this instance, looking back at examples where you've coped with uncertainty and change before can help you accept the current situation. So maybe perhaps you suffered a painful breakup in the past and you eventually were able to move on with your life, or you lost a job and you ended up finding a better one that was just amazing. Examine your past successes. Those can also help you see that you are more resilient than you give yourself credit for. Remember Bible verses like Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to those who believe, to them who that are called according to his purpose. So accept your feelings. This is all part of tip 1. I told you they were long. Accept your feelings. It's tempting to believe that the best way to get through hard times is by ignoring painful emotions and putting a brave face on. I know a lot of women that will have a big smile on their face and they're just brokenhearted. But unpleasant emotions exist whether you choose to acknowledge them or not. Trying to prevent your emotions from surfacing will only fuel your stress and delay acceptance of your new situation that you have to take control of, and it will prevent you from moving on. By allowing yourself to feel the emotions, in other words, don't deny, accept the pain, accept your emotions in this, you're going to find that even in the worst, intense, upsetting feelings, they will eventually pass, and that trauma of those tough times will start to fade, and you'll be able to find a path forward. If you're going through a divorce, know there's a path forward. Talk to someone that you can trust. Talk to God about what you're experiencing, and I want you to reconnect with your emotions. Now let's talk about grieve with loss. Undergoing really, really tough times usually involves some kind of loss. Whether it be a divorce or by death, that's all a grieving process. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, a loss of an old life, your old identity, it's important that you allow yourself the opportunity to grieve whatever it is that you've lost. Only by facing your grief and acknowledging and mourning that loss will you be able to heal and eventually move forward into your life. Move forward. I talk about the different stages. You can go back to some of the episodes where I talk about there are different stages to grief. And then there's a second phase, which is the remaking of life. But you'll never be able to get to that phase of remaking of life until you've accepted, which is the 5th stage of grief. So let's move to tip number 2. And this is our last tip for this episode. The other ones we'll cover on our next episode, which will air next Friday. So tip 2 is reaching out to others. And let's talk about this, because connecting with friends and family when you're going through tough times can really, really help ease stress. It can also help boost your mood if you're really going to someone that you respect and is positive and sees a good outlook in things. It makes sense because change is very disruptive. So instead of feeling like you're facing problems alone, you can draw strength and build resilience from having others just really to lean on. Remember, this is not a free pass to unload and be that garbage dump onto people. You don't want to leave them holding all of your pain and all of your burden, but rather you want to walk into that conversation and that communication and let them know, hey, I'm feeling stress and I need help to walk through this. So they don't feel like they're taking that pain and that burden on themselves. The people that you reach out to don't need to have answers. Don't expect them to have all the answers for you, because they're not going to have all the answers to your problems that you're facing right now. They need to be willing, they just have to be willing to listen to you without judging you. I want you to go to those people. In fact, what you talk about or the words that you use are really unimportant. It's the human connection, the eye contact, the smile, the hug, just sitting together that can make all the difference in the world on how you're feeling. I want you to prioritize those relationships, because nothing carries the same healthy benefit as connecting face to face with someone who is very caring, very empathetic. If you're kept apart, geography wise from someone, for example, reach out to others by video chat. We learned how to do this through the pandemic. You can FaceTime. My kids and I FaceTime all the time. I mean, we FaceTime more than we make phone calls. Make an appointment with a prayer sister in church, maybe to go talk to them, or just submit your request online. There are churches all over online. I know Joel Osteen's church, Lakewood, takes prayer requests. Reach out to a church, leave a prayer request. They're going to get back to you. They have certain people that read those prayer requests, and they really do pray for you and get back to you. I don't want you to withdraw in tough times. I want you to stay connected. You may be inclined to retreat. A lot of us do, into this little shell when we're facing challenges in life, because you may fear that you actually are going to be a burden on your friends and your loved ones. I know I did that when my son died, because this is just going to have you feel more exhausted inside. Good friends are not going to consider you a burden. They're more likely to feel flattered that you even trust them enough to confide in them. And I also want you to try to avoid negative people at all costs. This means in person and online. Some friends are really good listeners. They're kind and empathetic, but others seem to only fuel negative emotions in us and leave you feeling even more stressed out, anxious, and sometimes panicky. Try to avoid anyone that magnifies your problems or criticizes you or judges you or just makes you feel devalued because you're going through some type of challenge. I want you to expand your social network. Even through relationships, they're vital for good mental health. I mean, building resilience and getting through tough times. Many of us feel that we don't have anyone to turn to. So if you don't feel like you have anyone to turn to in times of need, there are plenty of ways that you can build new relationships and improve on your support networking system. If you know others who are lonely or are isolated, be the one to take that initiative and just reach out to them. You can get involved in a Bible study. You can get involved in groups online that are super, super healthy. And listen, stop following people on social media that are negative and they're not positive and they don't uplift you. You want to connect with women's groups that are going to support you. Try online mastermind groups, networking groups, digital marketing groups. These are going to introduce you to like-minded women. They're going to help you reboot, regroup, and reinvent yourself if you're going through a really, really hard time. I know my friend Amber brought a digital marketing class to me that was so impressive that I wish that I had learned this 10 years ago. I'm actually going to link that in my description today on the podcast because it's so good and I've learned so much from it. Anyone in any career, any walk of life, if you want to learn digital marketing, which is basically on how to make money online, you really, really need this course. And Amber saw that in me and she brought that to me. And I was so grateful for that because I've learned so much and I want to be able to share it to other people. So next week, we're going to talk about 3 more crucial tips on how to build resilience and really battle hardships and adversity. You don't want to miss that. Be sure to share this episode with a friend. And until next week, I want you to stay hopeful and God bless.